This isn't a book about having it all. It's a book about interrogating the gender norms we've been handed by a patriarchal society, calling bullshit when we see it, getting real about what we want to cultivate in our own lives and in our evolving communities, doing what we can to nurture those things, practicing resilience without denial, and finding joy in all this messy and good work along the way. Introduction. When I was in college, I signed up for a psychology and literature course because it was offered at the precise hour for which I'd found a babysitter. A small, magical coincidence, it turned out, because there on the required reading list I came upon the dearest book, A Life of One's Own, by the British psychotherapist Marion Milner. Originally published in 1934 under the pseudonym Joanna Field, the narrative follows Milner's 7-year study of living that began with a diary she started keeping when she was 26 years old. Her idea was that if she recorded the best moments in her daily life, she might begin to trace patterns from those moments and discover the conditions for lasting happiness. I marveled at the concept. What an embarrassingly simple idea. I'd been traveling since I left home and school 4 years earlier. Because I was in almost constant motion, the rhythm of a night train had become as familiar as my own heartbeat. I'd returned to California to start college only because the vagabond lifestyle proved tricky with a baby. I'd been running from depression and psychic death, searching and tripping in a mad dash quest for what? I wanted to prove to myself that I could survive without all the things the world told me I needed in order to survive, but I was seeking something, too. I hoped to find the antidote to depression, but I wouldn't have called it happiness at the time. I mean, happiness was so uncool. At best, happiness meant you were shallow and disconnected. More likely, it meant you were dumb. How could anyone be happy when the world was such a war-torn and miserable place? Happiness was hokey, optimism for dimwits. In my philosophy class, I'd just written a paper arguing that human nature was basically mean-spirited. Still, I nursed my daughter to sleep and stayed up late California nights reading that little book called A Life of One's Own. It shocked my imagination that one woman's humble search for happiness might be an intellectual pursuit worthy of college-level inquiry. It reminded me of night trains and made me feel safe to see that an educated writer like Milner could admit that she, like me, didn't really know what she wanted. Perhaps if one really knew when one was happy, one would know the things that were necessary for one's life, she wrote. Before I even finished the book, I started my own diary. I didn't write every day, but when I remembered and when I had time. I picked out the moments in which I'd been particularly happy and recorded them on lined pages. Life isn't as simple as a series of inspirations and consequences, of course. All kinds of things influence us and bend our destinies. But I think it's fair to say that it was from those fragments and scribbles of experience that I found the thread that would embolden me to build the creative life and independent family I could nurture and be nurtured by as I stepped into adulthood. 15 years later, I'm a full-time writer and the mother of a teenager. A cold spring afternoon, and I'm stuck in traffic, listening to NPR, when an announcer notes, "At Harvard University this semester, students are flocking to a new class that might give them some insight into the secret to happiness. Psychology 1504, or positive psychology, has become the most popular course on campus." I thought of my freshman year and smiled. Harvard had finally caught up with the little California hippie college where I spent my first 2 years as an undergrad. When I got home, I searched for the class on the internet and downloaded the syllabus. I would read along with the Harvard kids, I decided. I had long since forgotten about A Life of One's Own, but in recent years I'd noticed a growing disconnect between the things I imagined would make me happy and the things that actually did.